Our question, Dr. John, comes from Michael in New York. My company just furloughed 50% of the company. The executives have taken a 50% pay cut. They just sent a communication asking for volunteers to reduce their salary for a short time as well. I was thinking of cutting my salary by 5%, which is my current 401k percentage. I have an emergency fund set up. What are your thoughts? Generous.
Yeah.
Thoughtful. So, yeah, I mean, the people are leading with a greater percentage than they're taking a cut than you are, than they're asking you guys, and it was a volunteer, and it's something you can do. I don't know how big your company is, or what the sense of camaraderie or loyalty is. If it was zero and you're treated like a widget that works there, I wouldn't. There's no point, because you're saving a bunch of people that don't even know you exist or something like that. But if you've got a great camaraderie, unity in the thing, I think it's worth the sacrifice at that point.
And I love a leadership team that goes first. I love a leadership team that says, here's we're putting our money where our mouth is.
If you don't go first, by definition, you're not a leader.
There you go. And I also like I like the camaraderie. I also like this notion that I've got a responsibility to who I see in the mirror too. Mm-hmm. And what can I do to participate and help? And I've lived like no one else, and then here came a moment, right?
Yeah. So I was with a CEO with Simon Sinek at a think tank thing over in Aspen back in the fall, and the guy running the thing was the CEO of a company with 12,000 employees, and they got in a financial crunch, not a coronavirus thing. This was back in the fall, and they got in a financial crunch years ago, and in order to turn it around, the executive team took zero for a while, and they said, we have to furlough folks. And they were able, because it was not like coronavirus, they were able to spread the furloughs out. And they said, okay, everybody's going to lose a week of pay during the next 4 months. You decide when that's best for you. What happened was employees who could afford to lose more than 1 week's pay took 2 weeks of furlough so that their buddy who was broke didn't have to take any.
I love it.
And that across the aisle, inside, they've got factories all over the world, and but the people across, it was all within each factory. So it was the guy, you're talking, I'm going to give George my week, or I'm going to take his week, so he didn't have to take it, or whatever, however you say that. And it was this thing where you knew directly that the person you were helping, and they had a little space. It wasn't all crammed into 1 month like this April of hell we've been through, right?
Right.
I never saw a month I wanted to go away as fast as this
has been
one.
the longest month.
Good God,
ever.
But but I think that's a cool way of looking at it, and say, okay, leadership team's taking nothing. We still gonna have to do it. I mean, we talked about it around here. We didn't have to do it. We were our revenues ended up stabilizing, and we were able to come up with other ways to cover it, and we didn't get into a thing. Leadership didn't even have to take a pay cut here so far, anyway. We were prepared to before we did something. But we said, okay, rather than lay off the last 100 hired out of our 1,000, we'll let everybody take a cut equal to what that pay would have been.
That's good, because I was in that group.
For a short period of time. You were in the last 100.
That would have been good.
That's true.
I think when you give people an opportunity to serve and to take care of people, especially as you mentioned it, I can look them in the eye. It's the same thing we experienced with these tornadoes seems like 100 years ago now, but just people showing up with meals and food and cookies and signs and chainsaws. People will do it if you let them. If you let them. When you impose it on them, then our natural inclination is put your hands up.
Well, that's why this idea of that taxation is somehow tied to charity is ridiculous. There is no virtue in you taxing me. There's virtue that transfers when someone gives me money or I give someone money. If I give you my sandwich, that's virtue.
There you go.
But if a policeman comes up and takes it away from me and gives it to you, there's no virtue transfer.
That's right.
And so there's no generosity. So to equate taxation with generosity is absolutely asinine. It's a ridiculous concept.
Or it's punting your responsibility or your willingness to get your hands dirty and get in there.
Well, it's actually saying, I'm going to help you be charitable instead of me do it. I think you ought to be more charitable than you are. So I'm going to do it for you.
Or I don't want to do the hard work of finding the needs of my community. You do it.
And it is hard work.
Absolutely it is. And it's messy work.
I have found out that giving is harder than I ever imagined. Doing it intelligently, wisely, and not bringing harm, and instead not enabling, not participating in their insanity, something like that. Actually causing change and transformation and lift with giving. It's a lot of work.
That's been a neat move, I think, over the last 5 or 10 years, where philanthropists, people of means, are looking around saying, I'm not just throwing money in the wind anymore. I want to see that this is going to help people, help their trajectory be different.
I had a billionaire sit down with me about 10 years ago, and he said, he chided me a little bit because I was asking him about it. So I set myself up, right? But T-ball question. I set myself up on the T-ball, right? And he popped me in the head, and he said, you are so careful with your investing. You're so diligent with picking out good investments, and when it comes to giving God's money, you just throw it. He said you need to be more diligent with your giving and wise with your giving and treat it like it's investing because you're investing God's money. Man, it convicted me. That's when we formed our family foundation. Within 6 months of that, I had, Denise is head of it, and for 10 years she's been running that thing, and we've getting better and better and better and more careful, and lots of checks and balances to make sure we're wise with that generosity. But you want to see the return. You want to see lift from it. Ramsey Solutions, if y'all don't know, we gave away 168 tanks of gas one morning at 2 different gas stations. With about 30 of us went out there with their gloves and their masks on, and I'm out there cleaning windshields. And for healthcare workers, we put signs out there and said, "Hey, you're a healthcare worker, come in, we'll give you a free tank of gas." And it was so powerful because you got to see
the
gratitude.
You
got the tears and the thank you, and nobody said thank you, and I'm so tired, and this means so much, it lifts my whole day up, and on and on and on. No one had a sour face. There was no one. Well, they might have, because some of them had masks on.
Here's another important thing about what the buddy at the think tank said. He had created a culture over a series of months and years that when a crisis showed up, everybody had the spirit and heart to make it happen. And we wait till the house is on fire before we start trying to communicate directly to each other, right? Or we start to... Culture is about setting things up way in advance, having a good marriage, having good relationships, knowing yourself well. You got to do that stuff before the house catches on fire.
Yeah.
And otherwise...
Because stupid is going to be stress tested.
You mentioned it the other day. When you squeeze something, you find out what the juice is.
And that's why, we sadly are seeing divorces go through the roof right now.
Man.
Divorce filings in this 30-day period of time are skyrocketed. Domestic violence skyrocketed. And the suicide rates. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
We got to pull those up. You and I got to talk about that on the air.
Okay.
I did a drive-by on it, so I don't have it right down. But the number of suicides associated with unemployment is going to approach the COVID deaths.
Wow.
That's what this article was saying. I got to pull it up and source it before I stand on it as absolute truth. But bottom line is there's all this other stuff going on.
Oh, this just revealed where we were.
Revealed our spiritual condition, our financial condition,
our disconnection,
our social condition, our hatefulness towards one another, our love and generosity towards one another. It has revealed all of that. And some of it's beautiful, and some of it is really scary when you see it. Some of the things it's revealed. Some of the things that my son Daniel and I have breakfast every Tuesday morning. So we had breakfast this morning. He's one of our top leaders in the organization here. And we were talking about it from a leadership perspective, some of the things you've learned. And I even told him at breakfast, some of the things this revealed in me I didn't like. It made me reassess. And I went, I get why I do that, but it's still not okay.
And that, Dave, is wisdom. That's why you're a great leader, because you can look in the mirror and say, this time, but not again.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's wisdom.
It's embarrassing when you look in the mirror.